Okay, now we are about to go into realm 3. So if you've watched the other 2 videos, you know that I break this book into 3 realms that have to do with the levels of healing from the incest taboo and from understanding the incest taboo on an intellectual level. So the 3rd realm is called Realm C, performativity. The other realms, so the first realm started out, which is that place of amnesia and the development of the incest taboo throughout life and throughout culture. And the second realm was about lived experience, the idea of self-disruption, whether conscious or unconscious, that goes on from a place of trauma. And this 3rd realm is performativity. It's where once that taboo has been broken open, not only psychologically but spiritually through a quantum level. On a quantum level, there's an understanding of where it inhabits the self, and incest is seen as a numinosity. Then we get into the level of quantum mechanics, where you can, if you want to use the metaphor of quantum mechanics, you can say that, so incest was this like dark matter. If you understand dark matter is this place where so much of the universe goes, and they don't understand where it goes, but it's a big part of creation. So the incest taboo for me is like that. It's the basis of culture, and yet it disappeared and went into this hole, and so did all that energy that was transmuted from the child and from the level of accessibility, which is what Judith Butler boils incest down to, is accessibility, the trauma aspect of it, to accessibility. Then there's the level of performativity that can kick in, because you can take that accessibility and turn that traumatized, or susto, as they call it here in Peru, that energy into creativity. And it's almost like, so I saw it all in a vault, and I had to go in that vault, and I had to deal with everything that was in that vault over decades. And then I wrote about it in Consanguinity Disruptus. But what happened is sort of a meta, a prefix to understanding incest intellectually. As an actor and as an artist and as a filmmaker, it was all coming out through creativity, and this was part of the healing. And a part of my healing was seeing all the works, you know, from Sam Shepard to Sod to Boys Don't Cry. I forgot who made that movie, but so many works that had to do about incest. Jack and Rose, Rebecca Miller, all these people that did work about incest, and I would see these works and it would trigger something in me, and part of me would start working on that. So that's how this book was written. Something was working on me, and I felt like a detective. If there were any part I could play as an actor that I think I would enjoy the most, it would be as a detective, because to me that's what my life has been like. It's been like understanding what happened that thwarted my creative energy at a particular point, because it was hidden, because it wasn't transparent. And I bring up the violence of bringing it into transparency in realm B. But here in the realm C, we're talking about the performativity of that energy that might be labeled PTSD or susto, depending on where in the world you are. And I use, again, the body metaphors. I'm using the lungs this time, because the breath, when we first come into the world, the breath is what carries our words. And this chapter is about truth and telling the truth. And this is what can happen in a very energizing way through creativity. And the performance of consanguinity disruption can be carried out through whatever forms the incested person decides to take, and even the incestor There are a lot of people that want to heal from what they perpetrate while they're here on this planet. And then there's what I started noticing, because I started traveling a lot. I sold all my belongings, had a backpack, and I was just writing and dealing with this thing that was gnawing at me. And I developed this theory called existential transience. And some of my work is about how this in itself is a limited experience. When you start traveling a lot, and especially in a place like Peru, when there are a lot of people who come here because they want to heal, and it's just a great environment for that, you start seeing that people are dealing with attempting to read into their own shadows. This book was me reading into my shadows in particular, but existential transience shows people that no matter where you are, there's that famous saying, no matter where you go, there you are. Well, that's really helpful. And when you're transient and you notice that no matter where you are, where you go, there you are, then you start looking at the aspects that maybe you might not want to bring with you next time. So you start reading into the shadows, and the shadows are beautiful. And let me explain what I mean. Okay, so we've all heard, you can't see the stars without the dark night sky. It's daylight right now, they're still there, but I can't see the stars. So when it's dark, then I can see the components of the universe that I normally can't see, and they're beautiful. There's a beautiful constellation going on right now that I cannot see with my eyes. But reading into the shadows means developing the ability to read into the places of darkness that we can't see. And there are a lot of religious modalities that would ask us not to do that. And I would beg to differ, and I would say that one of the most profound aspects of my ability to see inside myself and start living at a different vibration was to go into those shadows. And no, it's not something to do, in a full-hearted way. It's incremental, and it's reading people like Jung and Arnold Mandel and Clarissa Pinkola Estes and Castaneda, and there are just so many people, and they're in my bibliography of this book, the people that I read that helped me with this journey. But the chapter 6 goes on into how this flesh as screen, reading the flesh, reading what it's telling us is a part of the phenomenological narrative that goes into the loss and the pendulum effect of innocence. So incest obviously is dealing with a breakdown of that innocence. It's what happens when you have that availability as a child, and that adult level of libidinal energy is exchanged with you. It completely disrupts the sanctity of that child energy, the boundary of that energy. And in current media, incest is talked about in a way that sometimes it's dealing with the real, and sometimes it's dealing with the more prurient interests that have developed around incest in a carnal or libidinally shadowed way. So that can be important to look at those shadows, but for me personally, it isn't my choice to live in those shadows. I in chapter 4 and 3, I talk about having done limited experiences in Amsterdam and Berlin where I really explored those areas of sexuality, and for me, it isn't right. So I went into an idea of imagery and looking at the sadistic and being able to pull my energies back from that imagery, and that works really well if you work with shamanic modalities. A lot of therapists know how to work somatically, and this helps too. But it's working with the body because the body is part of what was perpetrated. And I discovered a lot of disorder in desire. That's why I was acting out in the ways I was acting out, because I wanted to see, what is this edge, this quote evil that's out here that instigated this disruption in my ability to feel whole as a self. And there are a lot of things in life that can do that, but incestuousness has its own plot points, its own way of doing that. And work by, I had a class with Mike Figgis, and Mike Figgis, the filmmaker, he's done a couple films, an opera type genre film, and then a more personal film that's just magnificent about the loss of innocence. And those are other helpful narratives, and frankly, those narratives help me understand my own, looking at a lot of different ones. And Mike also told me about a movie called Festus, and it's very much about a family breaking open the secret of incest, and everyone has to go about it their own way, and all of these works show different ways that people go about it. And then another thing that really helped me heal was looking at the neural shaping of tragedy, because I had my own narrative of tragedy, and that's repeated in so much of Shakespeare's work and Sod's work, and so many other authors. Sam Shepard, certainly one of the major effects for me was, and openings for me creatively, was seeing Sam Shepard's work, because it related so closely to my own voice. His voice was so similar to the voices of the masculine element around me as a child. So then there's the mapping of incest continuum through this narrative, and you learn how to map your own narratives, and when you see it, it's just so empowering. It's, I can leave it like that, or if I want, I can change my narrative. Different circumstances would have given me a different narrative. So once I learned that I didn't have to keep that narrative, that was amazing, because then the stage as lived experience really became incorporated on a life level. My life stage as lived experience is now in my control instead of controlling me. So in this third realm of performativity, I've learned how to use it in places like the art school I went to, and the film school I went to, and writing these books, and all the other work I've done with even doing readings of work and that sort of thing, and having people say that they want to look at their own narratives. This all really helped me be able to turn that very subjective view of my experience out into the world and see how I could be of service as far as sharing what's worked for me, the way other people have shared with me. So, in the conclusion, I talk a little bit about, what happened after writing this book, and the deconstruction of cultural narratives of denial that we see in some of the cases that have come out about churches over decades of sexual abuse of children, and even academic, athletic institutions. There have been so many in the news. And all of those dimensions, learning to really grasp the way those dimensions have affected us as a culture all over the world, is very helpful in being able to shift that energy. And that's my goal while I'm here. I have hopefully a few more years left on this planet, and I can continue to write about how things are shifting for me and share that. So I hope you really enjoy Consanguinity Disruptus, the phenomenology of incest as lived experience. And enjoy is kind of an unusual word to use with this sort of material, but what I mean is enjoy reading a very open, raw account of it and implementing it in your life with the people that have been through incest, whether they're your clients or you or a family member, and helping raise that vibration of transparency. Thank you so much.